You know that salt shaker on your kitchen table? We see it every single day, and we think, yeah, it's just salt. But what if that familiar little crystal holds a massive secret? A secret that connects you to the entire planet, and maybe even to consciousness itself.
Okay, so let's just dive right into that. It's a pretty mind-bending question, right? But it's at the absolute heart of our source for this explainer, a book called The Crystal of Life by Ieda Alves. It makes the case that this simple mineral, well, it isn't simple at all.
This one line is really the core of the whole thing. What the book is arguing is that salt's physical structure, its actual shape, is what provides a stable home for consciousness to kind of take root in the physical world. It's a huge claim, so let's break down how that's supposed to work.
So, the first big concept to get your head around is that salt acts as Earth's mineral antenna. Think of it like a natural translator. It's supposedly picking up all these subtle, invisible frequencies from the universe and then organizing them, grounding them into the structured reality that we can actually see and touch.
So, how does an antenna like that actually work? Well, according to the book, the secret isn't found in its chemistry. It's all about its fundamental design, what our source calls its secret blueprint.
To really get this, we need to quickly touch on sacred geometry. It's this idea that certain shapes and patterns aren't just random accidents. They're the underlying architecture of, well, everything. And each shape has its own unique purpose and its own energy.
And for salt, or sodium chloride, the book says that foundational shape is the cube. And what's wild is that this is true. If you look at salt under a microscope, you see these perfect little cubes. The author argues this isn't just a quirk of chemistry, it's a deliberate and fundamental architecture for our reality. The implication here is pretty profound. According to the book, this perfectly balanced, stable crystal grid is like a docking station for non-physical energy, like consciousness, to anchor itself into the physical world. It's the structure that's said to give form to the formless.
So we've got the shape, the cube. But this story goes so much deeper than that. We're talking billions of years deeper. It's a story all about memory, and it connects our own bodies directly to the very birth of life on Earth.
So let's follow this incredible journey. It all starts in the primordial oceans, that salty soup where life first got its spark. Over millions of years, those oceans dried up, leaving behind these huge salt deposits that basically trapped the planet's memory in layers of rock. And now, that very same kind of salty solution is flowing through our veins as blood.
And this right here really shows just how deep that connection is. I mean, look at the mineral makeup of seawater versus our own blood plasma. The percentages are different, sure, but the fundamental ingredients are incredibly similar. The book's point is that we are, in a very real way, carrying a small piece of the ancient ocean around inside of us.
So the main point here is this. Our biology isn't separate from the planet's history. The salt flowing through us is like a living memory, a sacred piece of that original soup that keeps us connected, both physically and energetically, to the very beginning of life.
Okay, so let's zoom out a bit. We've seen this concept on the micro level of our bodies, but what happens when you apply it to the macro level of the entire planet? If salt is conducting life inside of us, what's it doing on a global scale? We all kind of learned this back in biology class. Salt dissolves in water and creates charged ions, electrolytes. These little ions carry the electrical currents that let our nerves fire. I mean, they are literally powering our thoughts. Just hang on to that idea for a second. What if you took that same exact principle, that electrical conductivity, and you blew it up from the scale of a single human body to the scale of the entire planet? Well, according to our source, that's what's happening. The massive salt deposits underground and all the salt in the oceans, they're not just passive. The book theorizes that they form a giant, interconnected planetary grid. This grid is described as being like a mineral nervous system for the whole Earth, conducting energy, distributing information, and keeping the planet's vibrational balance in check. Okay, so a planetary nervous system, ancient memory, sacred geometry. What does any of this mean for you, right here, right now? Well, this is where it all comes together, inside what the author calls the crystal within you.
This is probably the most powerful analogy in the entire book. Think about your consciousness, your thoughts, your spirit, your intention as the software. Well, the book proposes that your physical, salt-based body is the biological hardware that the software has to run on. In this reality, you just can't have one without the other.
And here's where it gets even crazier. According to the book, this hardware is actually programmable. The author describes a void, a space of pure potential that exists between the ionic connections in ourselves. The theory is that if we access this space with focused intention, our consciousness can directly interact with our body's mineral structure to promote what the book calls cellular regeneration. It's essentially like having your own internal alchemy lab.
Ultimately, the big takeaway here is this idea of profound interconnectedness. The same crystal structure that's powering your thoughts right now is just a miniature version of the crystalline network that powers the entire planet. So you're not just living on Earth, you are a conscious, resonating cell within its larger body.
The final conclusion of the book is that if this framework is true, it means we have an incredible amount of agency. The idea is that if we can just understand the hardware we're running on, we can become the architects of our own consciousness, and we can be capable of regenerating ourselves and aligning with that much bigger planetary system.
So we've gone from a simple seasoning to a cosmic antenna, a sacred crystal that's anchoring our very being into reality. It's a radical shift in perspective, and it's been hidden in plain sight on our kitchen tables this whole time. So, the question isn't just if you'll see salt differently, but how this idea might change the way you see yourself.